First, we are going to clean the lens. Disconnect the air hose and loosen the nut holding the lens housing in place. After removing the lens housing, unscrew the nozzle, then follow the autofocus wire and disconnect it. To remove and clean the lens, you'll need the lens tool, which you can find in the toolbox that came with your machine, some lens wipes, and something to safely push the lens out of its housing. A pencil eraser works well for this. Take the lens tool and insert it into the grooves shown here. When unscrewing the ring nut, be careful not to slip. You could scratch your lens with the tool. Once you loosen it, you can do the rest by hand. Now take your pencil and use the eraser to pop the lens out carefully. Be very careful when handling the lens so that you don't drop it. As you can see, this lens is very dirty. Now, use the lens wipe to clean it off. Before you put the lens back in the housing, take a moment to look at it. One side is curved. The curved side of the lens should go in first. In other words, the beam should hit the curved side first, so keep that in mind when putting it back in the housing. Put in the clear rubber lens O-ring, then put the ring nut on top of it and screw it back in. Next, use this tool, the ring nut driver, to access the mirror in the laser head. Clean this mirror with a lens wipe and put it back in the laser head. Now use lens wipes to clean the mirror on the gantry and the first mirror in the back of the machine by the tube. Now we're going to grease the rails. You can apply grease directly to the rails by hand, but we recommend injecting the grease into the bearings with a grease gun. Any kind of grease gun will work so long as the nozzle is narrow enough to fit into the bearings. This mobile grease is what we use and can be found at most local hardware stores. Use an Allen key to remove this screw. Now, insert the grease gun's nozzle into the bearing and inject the grease. There are two bearings on the Y-axis rails and one bearing on the X-axis gantry located directly behind the laser head. Whether you greased the rails directly or injected the bearings, move the laser head all around the table with the control pad to finish the rail maintenance. Finally, use paper towels to wipe down the machine for general cleaning purposes, and you're done. Generally, you want to grease the rails once a month and clean the lens and mirrors after heavy usage.